Some brands offer you low finance, or cashback, or servicing.
Renault don't do ors. We do ands. The Renault Kadjar with 1.91% APR and €1,000 cashback and 3 years servicing, saving you thousands. Renault, the brand with the ands. Visit your local Renault dealer. Finance is made under a hire purchase agreement. Terms and conditions apply. Deposit required subject to lending criteria. See Renault.ie.
I'd like an answer to the question, Judge. You can't handle the truth!
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Rubs the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Welcome to After Hours AM, The Criminal Code, with your hosts, Joel Sturgis, Eric Olsen, and Dr. Clarissa Cole.
And good evening, and welcome to this edition of the After Hours AM, The Criminal Code. And we are back after our Thanksgiving break. Hopefully each and every one of you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, filled with turkey or what have you, whatever you like to eat. How was your guys' Thanksgiving? Was it great?
Wonderful. We went down to my older daughters. We got to hang out with her, and some of her husband's family came, his sister and her kids, and we got to play with their 1.5-year-old and their 5-week-old.
Wow. Man, Eric, sounds like a lot of fun. Clarissa, how about you?
It was good. It was quick. I went back to Wisconsin just for Thanksgiving Day and flew back the very next day.
Wow.
But it was good.
I was going to ask, were you able to just take a turkey and put it on your back porch right next to the fire and all?
No kidding. I swear. No, luckily it's been getting better. And we've had some rain and stuff, so it's been getting better here. It was nice to escape and breathe some clean air for a little bit, though.
Is it under control now?
It is. The fire is supposedly 100% contained. It's not going to go out for a while, but it's 100% contained. The rain is making it more difficult for recovery efforts, though. Okay. That's the only.
Okay. Well, I was going to say it kind of fell off the national radar. I haven't heard anything about it in quite some time. You know how that is. Once rain comes, well, that's it. We don't have to report on it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. FEMA never did show up, and there are still 50,000 or so displaced people.
Oh. So. It's horrible. Yeah. Horrible.
It is really bad.
That's a city has to be moved.
Correct. And a lot of them are living in tents in parking lots. And now that it's raining, you've got an inch of standing water everywhere, and you've got 65, 70-year-old people living in tent cities in parking lots. I mean, it's a real disaster. But, now that Trump has come and gone, who cares?
Did he show up and he said, you guys will be fine, and kind of gave you the rah-rah speech and then left?
He didn't even do that.
Oh.
I almost wish. No, he showed up and said that we needed to rake more.
Oh, rake more.
like they do in Finland. So
they do in Finland. Yeah, we have to rake the florist floor.
Yeah, because everyone in Finland does that. I immediately Skyped with my son and daughter-in-law in Finland and asked them, is that something that people do? No one is raking the forest.
What?
Of course nobody's raking the forest. I mean,
raking the forest.
His big prevention tip is rake more. What?
Yes.
Make
America rake again.
Well, this would have been so much less bad if we had forest management. And what would that constitute? Raking the forest.
He doesn't really strike me as someone that's ever really done manual labor.
I don't think he's ever held a rake.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably seen a rake from a distance.
Yeah, I was going to say, why? He's a gardener now?
No. And I mean, when he said that, people were like, wait, what?
I would have said, I would have told him it starts with an F and it ends with a U.
Yeah, he said, what did he say? He said that the president of Finland told him that that's how they take care of their forests and why they don't have forest fire problems. And then the president of Finland, or whoever the corollary of that would be, forgive me, I do not know all world politics, came out and said, yeah, we did talk about forest fires, but no way. I didn't say that.
Okay, I'm not going to call the man a liar, but I'm going to say that was never said.
Let's just say that the president of Finland does not remember it.
To the best of his recollection.
To the best of his recollection, he never said anything about raking the forest, and furthermore, says they don't do that there.
Well, there you go.
Or anywhere else where there are sentient humans.
Yeah, so that's what he did. He came out here, told us we needed to rake the forest more, and then left. And that was it. Yeah.
This forest fire fighting tip brought to you by Ace Hardware. Get down there, buy your rakes, people.
I know. I'm like, what is he talking about? It was just absolutely insane. And like everybody wanted him to leave, you know.
Just get out of here. Leave us alone.
Just leave. Yeah, so it's been just
go back to your red Christmas trees.
Oh, did you see that? Those are so creepy.
What? I did not see that.
Creepier than last year. No, tell him, Eric. It's awful.
All right, so the this year's White House Christmas decoration has been revealed. It was revealed in a video, like a minute or less video on Twitter, I believe. The whole family uses Twitter, it would appear, because that's Melania's territory. And what the essence of it, it's that hallway again. Remember, you walk down that long hallway. Last year, weren't they all white?
Yes, with uplight. So it was very skeletal looking.
Yes,
gotcha.
Exactly. Well, this year, every single tree is a very bloody red.
Oh.
And they're not even trees. It's like they're made of berries or something. They're not trees. There aren't needles.
Tree-shaped items.
Yeah, tree-shaped. I call them blood clots.
Wow.
They're vampire-ish. A lot of people thought it looked like The Shining, and I had a tweet with the twins at the end of the hallway. There was
oh my good Lord! I'm looking at these.
A lot of social media response.
I am looking at these god awful trees that they have. Oh my good Lord, they are ugly.
And the lighting, like the lighting that they have in that hallway, you know, for the video, it was very interesting to me because at least last year with the uplighting on the white trees, it at least looked sort of artistic. And this year, I'm like, it looks like an open garage door. That's what it looks like. That's how good the lighting is in this hallway. I don't know what's happening.
Open garage door. I like that.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's kind of dim and dingy looking. Like, how does the White House look dingy?
They need to maybe get rid of that interior decorator that said, you don't look really good in here, blood red trees. Yeah, people were sharing stuff all over social media, and it's like, I can't blame them. I mean, at first I thought, okay, it's a bunch of hoopla over nothing, you know, people just wanting to hate on her. Sure. And then I clicked on it, and I'm like, oh, good God.
Whoa,
well, you know, I've been a little bit out of the loop lately, and anyone that knows me on social media, I suppose I'll just address this because I know the emails have kind of come in. I have anxiety, guys. I do, and a lot of people do have anxiety. And I'm not alone, far from it. And some got it worse, some got it better. But it would have been a little while back. I had a panic attack. Never had one before. I thought I was having a heart attack. So I did not have a heart attack. I thought I did. But thank God, my wife actually called the ambulance. They hauled me away. I thought for sure I was dying, but I actually have horrible anxiety, a general anxiety. So I just want to get that out there. So anyone that's suffering with it, it's nothing to be ashamed of. It happens to the best of us, and you know, you hear us on the radio, and you never expect us to have anxiety. Like, you guys are the last people in the world that should have anxiety. We fall prey to it too. You know, we just do. I mean, we're only human beings, just like you are, and it's a tough thing. It's a real hard thing. But I am on the mend. I'm getting better. But it's also opened my eyes to the disorder even more, to recognize the cues in myself when I'm having an issue, when my anxiety is peaking. And that's something I'm going to work on to get a better handle on. And a lot of people, believe it or not, through social media reached out saying, I got the same thing. I have a lot of anxiety. I don't know why. Well, we don't always know why. And that's why it's a disorder. We can make order out of it. It won't be disorder anymore. And it doesn't make you any weaker for having anxiety. Clarissa, you mentioned yourself on this show that you've had anxiety. Eric, you've had anxiety. Everybody
absolutely
has had
I
it.
think mine, I guess, was more targeted. Mine was pretty much in conjunction with the deterioration of my parents' health, and I had a sudden realization. This is a few years ago when this all began. My dad had a heart attack. A couple months later, my mother had a stroke. This was in 2015. And all of a sudden it occurred to me, I mean, you would think I would have known this, but it dawned on me. I guess it went from intellectually knowing it to having it really sink into my soul that my parents were not going to live forever.
Yeah.
And it really hit me hard. I had a couple episodes. I had one kind of a fainting spell. I had another where I almost passed out. And same as you, was wondering what the hell was going on. My wife was really freaked out. She thought I was having a stroke or something. And even called 911 the one time when I really did actually faint. And they came, and by then I was coming around, and it was okay. But the bottom line is it's very serious, and it has to be addressed. I think the reason I have not had any actual episodes since is I've been in therapy. I've been going to counseling on a weekly basis now for over a year, and it's helped me a lot. It really has. Just to have someone to talk to, a third party, just to have someone who's, not in the family, who has nothing to gain or lose. An interested third party it's really helped me a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've been taking that same avenue, by the way, Eric.
And I think what people need to recognize out there is that, anxiety, even though it's a mental health issue, right? Anxiety can have a lot of very real physical effects, like your chest can hurt and feel like there's a lot of pressure. You can lose consciousness. I always know that I'm getting a really bad anxiety, like probably an anxiety attack, a panic attack, when my fingers start to tingle.
Sure.
And I feel like I'm going to pass out a little bit, like the tunnel vision. That happens to people with anxiety. Just know that is very, very normal, and you're not alone. And there are definitely things you can do. Like long ago, the first time I ever had a panic attack, I was 15 years old. Yay! And what a nurse did, because they took me in, they didn't know what was happening. What she did, which helped me a lot, was she held up. I'm talking about an old-timey watch that you can hear ticking. Do you remember those?
I do.
Oh, yeah.
I swear to God, people don't have them anymore. But if you have a watch or a clock that you can hear ticking off the seconds, not seeing it, but hear it, if you hold that up to your ear, like right next to your ear, so it's like ticking on your ear, and you sync your breath in for 5 seconds, out for 5 seconds, and that's all you focus on is the ticking of that clock, it will help you slow down. I never forgot that, and it really does work because you can feel it ticking even if you can't hear it, like your hearing's starting to get weird, and you can just feel it. Try 7 seconds if you can get that slow, but just make sure all you think about is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and once you slow your breathing down, the panic attack should also stop.
Good to know. Good tip right there. Really good tip.
Quick, easy thing that you can do even when you're by yourself.
Oh, yeah, and that's the thing. Those little tricks and tips, rather. I almost said ticks because it's a tick.
It's a ticking to a clock. Yeah,
it is.
I have a really good one that ticks really loud, and it's nice. It helps.
I kind of had to wrap my mind around it. That's why I was kind of stepped away from social media and stuff so much, as I was just trying to wrap my own mind around what was going on in my own head.
It feels like a heart attack. It can be like a seizure. It can be like a stroke. I mean, this is all from just anxiety. It's crazy how it can take over your whole body.
And lately, to be honest, I've been fighting some depression. Yeah, because that comes with it. They go hand in hand. So So I did seek some help and on the mend, and I'm going to further get help. But again, anyone out there that might be suffering from anxiety, you're definitely not alone. You're far from alone, really, quite honestly. So just want to throw that in there, guys, because I know there'd been some talk amongst the listeners, ask if I am okay. I absolutely am okay, and I'm only going to get better. I have a great support system with my family and plus the listeners that chimed in, curious how I was doing. So there it is in a nutshell. Okay, moving on.
Yay!
I'm very glad you're doing okay.
Look, think about this, guys, out there in radio land, however many tens of thousands of you, hundreds of thousands, whatever the number is. You got 3 hosts on this show. All 3 of us have had anxiety issues. And I guess sounds like all 3 of us have had actual anxiety attacks. So that is how not unusual this is. If you live long enough, unless you're pretty unusual, you will have times when you become very anxious and you feel overwhelmed. It's a feeling of being overwhelmed and you don't have control over your life. And that's what you have to try to address. And, there's no instant answer to it, but it can be dealt with. And even just some of the things we just heard now, as far as what Clarissa said, and when we were off the air, she was mentioning taking magnesium. That's worth looking into. So please do follow up on it. Don't think you're alone. Don't isolate yourself. And my goodness, do not be embarrassed about it.
No, heck no. Nothing to be embarrassed about. I know, Clarissa, like always, the Criminal Code always brings us the greatest headlines from around the internet. And today is no exception. And I know there's a couple really creepy ones. I mean, there's one really creepy one. But where would you like to begin us on our wild headline journey?
Well, it's a Florida story, and I want to go there first because you guys got to help me as far as what is going on in this person's mind. So this was a burglar in Miami. All right, so he's a regular burglar in Miami's Dominion Tower apartment building, and I don't know, when I think of stealing something or burgling something, I usually think of breaking into somebody's apartment or something like that.
Yeah.
People that steal cars. This guy gets off of it. There's video of this because, in an apartment building now, they have surveillance cameras
all over the place.
Public areas, right? Yeah. The hallways, the elevators. So this guy gets off of the elevator on one of the floors in the building and proceeds to take a vending machine.
What?
And move it onto the elevator. And he took it to the 8th floor with him. That thing takes up almost the whole elevator, just to give you guys an idea of how big this thing was.
Let me get this right. This burglar goes into an apartment complex, and he doesn't go into an apartment or steal anything of any real value. He decides, hey, a vending machine's exactly what I need. And
was it full?
I don't know. I'm so confused. If you're gonna rip off a vending machine, I'm thinking, does he want the money that he thinks is in it?
All in quarters?
Do you move the whole machine? Is that what you do?
I don't know.
He did it?
I've never known anybody to steal a vending machine. I wouldn't know. I've heard of people stealing ATM machines.
Right.
I've heard of that. In fact, I saw on Breaking Bad.
Which are notably smaller. That's notably smaller, though, than this vending machine was.
It is.
There's a corollary. I have a corollary, and it's timely. Just in the last couple days. In fact, I think it was yesterday. So how coincidental is that? A sports person, I think they were just out walking or something through the woods, deep woods of Maine. This was not southern Maine where there's actually people. This is the deep woods.
Northern Maine.
Yes, or at least central Maine. And this guy's in the middle of nowhere, comes upon a field, a meadow amidst the woods, and sitting right there on the edge of the meadow is an ATM. I am not.
You mean a stolen one or a functioning one?
a apparently discarded
Oh,
one.
okay. I didn't know if it was a bank that thought, you know where we need the ATM? In the woods.
Way deep in the woods. The world's least used ATM. The local constabulary thought it had probably simply been disposed there. And their call was, look, we're not going to charge you with anything. Just come and pick up your damn ATM.
Right.
You can't dispose of it in a meadow in the middle of the woods. It's startling, if nothing else.
That is awfully strange. I've never heard of an ATM just hang out in the woods.
Unreal. Yeah, I was just so startled by the fact that he was really taking the time and the effort to move this really gargantuan machine.
Yeah.
Onto an elevator, so police eventually showed up, right? And they found that the money slot was sort of damaged, but I guess he didn't get into it because no money was taken and it was otherwise intact. So like he muscles it onto the elevator and then doesn't get anything out of it. Like maybe it was just strange vandalism. Who knows? Maybe he didn't even mean to take anything. He was like, "Ha, move it back now." I don't know.
It's an impulse. I can't control my hands or my arms.
Yeah, that really is strange.
Yeah, I wanted to share that because it was really, really odd. Yeah, and they say that he's actually a slim man in his 50s or 60s, and I'm like, go you, moving a vending machine.
Maneuver that thing.
I know.
Okay, it just
he was me. He was me. A slim man.
Do you do that? Do you?
No, I'm a slim man in my 50s or 60s.
But you don't move vending machines onto elevators.
Rarely, very
rarely.
I move DJing equipment and I'm talked to by ghosts on elevators. But
that is true. You were, by the way,
but not this tale.
Very, very, very weird. So. That was a story. So I'm like, that guy is very interesting. And I ran into also, this is kind of a weird story because this person is sort of that, people need to explain this to me, like Instagram famous. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm not even sure. I'm not even on Instagram, but I have heard people talking about getting points or something to get famous on Instagram, which is completely beyond me. So, Eric, do you know anything about it?
Sure. It's just another outlet. It's no different from being, famous on Facebook or Twitter or formerly Vine, which of course is now gone, or anything else going back to MySpace. It just means your celebrity comes via that outlet, not from somewhere else.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, like, I am on Instagram, but I have like no followers.
Not a one.
Clarissa. Yeah. In case anyone's interested, but yeah, no. Like, I don't know how people get famous, but there's a girl apparently named Katie Meta. She's 26 and she's kind of Instagram famous. And on Instagram, she goes by the name Max McIntyre.
Okay.
And she's a bit of like an Instagram model, very very pretty girl. Instagram model. She was in like the Maxim competition and stuff like that. And apparently she's also like a photographer.
Oh, she is not from Texas, is she by chance?
She is.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
she is cute. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah,
she's not.
Mugshot's cute.
I was gonna say she's earned everything she's got. Via her looks.
Good looking girl.
Yeah,
good looking girl. And so she, bride and groom, I guess, in Texas, hired her to photograph their wedding. They liked her photography and they wanted her to photograph the wedding. So she shows up as the wedding photographer. Okay. And apparently a bit later in the evening, the cops were called. An off-duty sheriff's deputy was serving as the security for the wedding. And she apparently was found having sexual intercourse with a man at the wedding.
Oh, bad form.
While really, really, really drunk.
Bad form.
Yes, and they asked her to leave, but instead of leaving, she started screaming at them and then went to a nearby tree to urinate.
So she's getting it on with whoever at the wedding.
Yes.
And they say, hey, you can't do that here, Maxim, whatever your name is, Moonlight or whatever your name is. Get the hell out of here. So she gets mad, goes outside and takes a leak on a tree.
Yeah.
I'll show you exactly how it's done. What?
I'll tell you what. This will only improve her Instagram status, I assure you.
Well, probably, except for the fact that not only was she arrested, right, for this behavior, one of the reasons she was arrested is because when they, asked her to leave and she goes out there and does that, she actually started yelling really horrible threats.
Oh.
She yelled at them, "Y'all daughters are dead. Your families will be dead by Christmas."
Oh, so she had to throw the terroristic threats in there on top of acting horrible.
Yeah,
what a wonderful person she is. What a professional.
Yeah, right?
It's like maybe just the getting drunk and having sex at a wedding might boost the popularity, but the terroristic threats, man, whoa,
not really.
drunk.
I draw the line at death threats.
I draw that. Yeah, I draw the line at death threats at a wedding too, from the wedding photographer.
Yeah, I kind of.
It's just at a wedding, say, versus a bar mitzvah.
Better than
a bris.
I don't. Yeah, I just. Oh my God! Just unbelievable behavior by her.
Is she 26? You said
26.
Old enough to know
better.
Old enough to know better. She's past the golden age of 25, like we've discussed. When you're fully mature.
Oh yeah. There's no youth factors involved.
No youth factor involved here. She was just acting badly.
Yes, and I have another story about a Michigan woman acting badly that I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this one either.
Okay.
It's weird. Her name is Sylvia Hope Varellen. She's 33, so also old enough to know better, right?
Way old enough to know better.
Yeah, she was with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend apparently asked her to leave. I don't know if they had some sort of argument or whatnot, but he asked her to leave, and instead of just leaving, so she wouldn't leave, she took diamond earrings of his mother's, who had passed away. His mother had passed away.
Oh.
She takes these diamond earrings, and at first she puts them in her ears and a ring on her finger that belonged to his mother. And then when he said he was calling the cops to have her picked up, she swallowed them.
Oh my gosh. So she swallowed the diamond earrings.
Do the potty watch. The potty watch.
Yeah, there's going to be someone in the jail waiting for her to poop.
And I'm like, really? If she's never been an inmate before, I mean, she's gonna fit right in, right? I mean, that's a behavior that you do when you want to keep something really bad. So she's maybe watching too much of Orange is the New Black or something.
Maybe,
I don't know, but
maybe she is, and she just really wanted those earrings.
She did, and she actually assaulted police when they got out there too.
Oh, that's bad. That's just adding more insult. She grabbed at one of their handguns. Yeah. Oh, she's lucky she's not dead.
She's alive. Yeah, she's lucky she's alive.
Yeah, because normally they just start shooting after that happens.
Yep.
Yeah. They get trigger happy after that.
They do, and who can blame them? So it was a very kind of disturbing story.
Well, if she were to get shot, would we really be out anything as society? I mean, just saying.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah,
it does.
What kind of loss would that really be? I mean, she's dumb enough to swallow earrings.
And of someone's deceased mother too.
Exactly.
I mean, not that it makes it any better if it's other diamond earrings, but come on.
Yeah. Well, that's a good way to get a perforated bowel. Huh?
No kidding. Actually, and and people that wonder about that, I've worked, for other mental institutions aside from the prison, and that is actually one of the main concerns: is what did they swallow, and it could kill them, and they don't foresee that.
No, they'll kill them.
Do the swallow
right now. That's why there's a lot of people, just to take a really quick left turn here, that won't get colonoscopies. Because everybody knows a person that's died after ones. I know 4 people that have died after them.
They are not the safest procedure. And now they're saying, too, that they're, wanting to change that up because the procedure is not safe. So I don't know what to tell you. I mean, colon cancer is certainly more deadly. So
yeah, well, the 4 people I knew, ask them.
Yeah,
that
no
died.
kidding.
And they all died on the toilet, too. Poor people.
Horrible.
I know, but that's why I know about perforated bowels, because that's something you could get. I'm not saying you shouldn't get your colonoscopy. If your doctor absolutely says you need it, you get it. I'm just saying that those people happen to pass away after theirs. So that's all.
Hey,
God, that's amazing.
Speaking of colons,
Yes.
so
We got another
I have a colon story.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do.
Oh.
Yes.
I have a
It's
semicolon story.
It's a oh, that was such geek humor. I loved it. So there was a woman also in Florida.
Oh, gosh.
Yep. She passed gas in a store.
She farted, is what she did.
Farted in a store, and then pulled a knife on an offended customer.
What? So she goes ahead and breaks wind. The
Yep.
person goes, "Oh my God, you stink!" When they said that, she pulls out the blade.
She did.
What?
She did.
Well, this had
So
to.
now I'm
She took
wondering about.
offense at her taking offense.
You know what though? I have a question about that.
It's
Like,
meta.
would you say
It's meta.
something? Like, do you say something?
When
Did
I
someone-
say something to someone that passed gas,
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
I personally
I
wouldn't.
would not.
I would not
would
either.
just, let it go.
Dawn
Just-
would.
Oh,
Let it go.
just let it go.
I'm
Dawn,
telling
you think Dawn would?
Oh my God! Yes, she is the nose Nazi.
No, my wife would too. She would say
Anything
something.
offends her delicate nasal sensibilities, all hell breaks loose.
What would she say though? I mean, how does one go about that? You know?
Yeah, how do you bring up the subject matter?
Excuse me, did that come from you?
Well,
And if so, what are you going to do about it?
well, it is a normal, natural
can't
function
really-
of a living
Can't really
being.
retract.
Yeah, how do you take it back?
Yeah, I know. Like, what are you going to do about it? Apparently,
Lady, what do you want me to do?
apparently, pull a knife and tell the victim that you're going to gut them. That's what she did.
Oh,
Yeah.
Get a
God.
towel out. Get a towel out. Start flapping the towel. Maybe that would do.
So yeah, they had to arrest her for, basically threatening to gut somebody in a store because he complained about her passing gas.
Well, it doesn't surprise me this happened at a Dollar General store.
That's true.
That-
We're not
that
talking like
doesn't-
Bergdorf Goodman or
Yeah,
anything.
we're not talking about Neiman Marcus here. We're talking about Dollar General. All right.
Yes. True. And I think everyone
We're not
involved-
talking about stores that I don't know the name of here.
And have you ever been to a Dollar General? You'll know what we're talking about.
Yes, it's true. It's true. Although I do kind of love them sometimes.
Oh, I hate them. They suck.
Hey man, they got some weird stuff that I
Then
like
they're
to look
blaring
at. so.
country music the whole time, and you're trying to shop, and it all seems so cramped in there. And then, of course, the help is always snotty. What do you want?
That's true.
What can I do for you? Well, evidently nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
That's true.
taking
They
my
do.
business to Dollar Tree. Screw
I'll tell you what. I don't remember the actual name, but it has dollar in it because there are many, many stores that have dollar in their name. But it's right here in Aurora, Ohio, and that's where I go for my balloons with which I therapize my beloved mother.
Aw.
I buy 50 big-ass latex balloons, and, they're only $1. It's a good deal.
That is a good deal. That is a good deal. But anyhow, what I'm saying is it's kind of a low-rent store. Does it surprise me that happened there? No.
Totally a low-rent store.
Yeah.
It is literally a low-rent store.
Yeah. Exactly. So this was the story there. I was wondering if you guys wanted to talk about the super creepy story that I sent you. The story about the Watcher.
Yeah, we should talk about that because that is super creepy.
That's a creepy.
Let's talk about the Watcher. I mean, I read this whole thing before coming on air, and
too because it was so.
it's captivating.
Is this
It is
the New
captivating.
Jersey? The New
Yes.
Jersey Watcher? Oh, I know
Yes.
that one, yeah.
Yeah.
This is super. So for those of you, if you want to see the entire article, it's in The Cut. So thecut.com, and it's like a mystery story about the Watcher. And so you'd be able to find it under that. By Reeves Weidman wrote the story. And so apparently this family in New Jersey bought this home. And I mean, it's a pricey home. It's a big home, right? So his name is Derek Broaddus, and he got a pretty good job at an insurance company in Manhattan. And they could afford this home that was $1.3 million at the time.
Ooh.
Yeah, they bought this home in New Jersey, really nice place in New Jersey, 657 Boulevard, just after Derek celebrated his 40th birthday, right? And it was right before Christmas. The kids were excited. They had three children. They start to sort of move in when all of a sudden these letters start arriving.
Oh, yes, the letters. Dearest new neighbor.
Oh, man, these letters, man, like, and I do not easily get creeped out, especially by criminals. But this, he said, do you need to fill the house with the young blood I requested?
That's the best line in the letter, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Better for me. Was your old house too small for the growing family, or was it greed to bring me your children? Like, and this person, if it is a he, maybe a woman, writes these letters, many different letters, and they talk about the house. They talk about the kids. They mention the kids by name. They talk.
Obviously, actually observing. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the part that's so scary, is that
the kinds of information that this person conveys in these letters could only come from physically being there and watching.
Well, it's generational, though. The Watcher is a generational thing. Because it goes in to say that.
Go ahead. Tell him what he said.
Grandmother, father, and now him or her is the next generation to watch this particular house. And it's so strange because when you read the header, it says, of course, the Watcher family, the dream home, but you would have thought it would have been some other creepy letter, but this is even creepier than what I was expecting. And some of the stuff that he writes, 657 Boulevard has been the subject of my family for decades now. And as it approaches 110th birthday, its 110th birthday, I have been put in charge of watching and waiting for the second coming. What's the second coming? What is it? He doesn't say what it is.
It's crazy.
What's the second coming? Come on.
Who knows? I mean, and they're also the one that really, like, all the letters kind of scared me. I'm not going to lie, but the one that really got me is that Derek, the father, said that at night, right? So they turn all the lights out. You know how you do that, like at home, you turn all the lights out so no one can see you, you know? And he said that he used like binoculars and a telescope to kind of look around the neighborhood because they knew this person had to be close.
Oh, he got them under their skin is what he did. He really got in there.
So, like, the house is totally dark, and the family patriarch is, like, looking outside, trying to find somebody watching the house. But then another letter comes that describes Derek doing it.
Oh, no.
You turned your lights out. Binoculars and telescopes are wonderful inventions. Like, no. No.
Wow. I wonder if there could be some sort of remote viewing aspect, it's not physically really there, but have some sort of camera or something.
I was thinking that too, that maybe they're not right there, but there's a camera. Or maybe they're only there sometimes, like maybe it's a family member that they visit and then they put those details in there. But they were saying the person would have had to been somewhat omnipresent in some ways because they knew things on a regular basis when they were there that they could never have known otherwise. They had to have been.
Well, it's got to be a neighbor. It's got to be one of the neighbors around them. Start questioning them and
well, they did. I mean, that's the thing. Is like it tore this neighborhood apart.
Oh,
because then the cops start talking to the neighbors, and then a lot of neighbors are becoming really offended. Like, what are you talking about? Like, these people just moved in. I've lived here for decades. I would never do something like that.
Yeah.
They're trying to take DNA from people, and then they try to sell the house. So the Broaddus's try to sell the house because forget it. We're not moving in here. We're not endangering our children. And they try to sell the house, but then nobody wants to buy it because there's that law now that you have to disclose. Right?
Disclose what? That you're being watched?
you have to disclose criminal happenings at a house, like a death, right? You have to disclose that, or a haunting. Remember the case that kind of started that? So if your house is haunted, or if there's a crime, and this apparently in New Jersey anyway falls under like a statute of criminal harassment at that address,
so it has
and
to be
have to disclose it. So, and they showed the letters to prospective buyers, right? So prospective buyers would be on the hook, and they'd read the letters, and they would pull out. They're like, oh, heck no.
Well, did the old owners disclose this before they moved in? Did they say, oh, yeah, by the way, this is this creepy person that's going to be sending you letters, just so you know?
Yeah, right. No, so that's what the Broadduses started looking into. They're like, oh, come on. You know, if the Watcher's been watching for this long, they had to have the Woods, the previous family, they had to know about it. So the Woods, they contact the Woods, and the Woods are like, well, yeah, I mean, we got letters, but
we just didn't think it was important enough.
Well, no,
they
they weren't threatening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, supposedly, from what the Woods said, they only got a couple of letters, and the letters that they got said things like, thank you for taking care of my house. And the Broadduses, I think, personally, the reason they started getting letters is because they started renovating the heck out of the house before they even moved in.
Oh, yeah, all the workers.
That house is over 100 years old, and they started ripping it apart before they even moved. So they buy a $1.3 million home, and that's over 100 years old in an established community, and start ripping it apart, which clearly brought out the anger of this person.
Someone's ire. Yeah, got the Watcher's ire. Got the dander up on the Watcher. Decides going to send them threatening letters. Now, is there any clue who this might be? I mean, did they come up with any kind of thinking, any suspect list?
They had suspects in the neighborhood. Like, there was a particular, like, family that was a little, strange. Like something's not right. Yeah, and they weren't particularly friendly, and they lived in a good area to see all the stuff the Watcher said they saw. But the cops actually got DNA from this family, and it didn't match.
Wow, the cops are super serious about this.
Yeah, they were.
But
wait,
how,
got into it.
How would they get the Watcher's DNA, though?
The letter. So the letters had.
They actually licked the letter.
That's my guess. Yeah, is that they licked the envelope.
What? The Watcher is not being very careful.
Hey, the Watcher. No, I think the Watcher was. I think the Watcher could have had somebody else lick the envelope.
That's true. Or used a towel, a damp towel.
I would.
Yeah.
I would have someone else. No, I'd have someone else lick it so their DNA was on it. I wouldn't use damp towel.
Oh, wow. Listen to you. You got it all figured out. If I was going to do this, I'm not saying I would, but if I was going to.
I'd find some random person at the post office, tell them I was on medication that dried up my saliva, and can you lick this for me so I can seal it? Thanks.
All the letters?
Wow.
Yeah, why not? No, use a damp towel.
No wonder you do so well.
I was going to say.
Criminal mind.
Listen to her.
Never do it
yourself.
What
about finger? Well, it's got to be fingerprints.
Gloves, man.
Yeah, that's true too.
Gloves and like a typewriter, something like that. But I mean, typewriters can be traced too, so you got to be careful.
Oh.
Yeah, the specific typewriter. But then that's what they were using as a typewriter. So, but the thing that kind of bothers me about this entire case is, Joel, something that you said. You were like, yeah, the cops are taking this seriously. So in both, as far as I know, in both New Jersey and New York, there is a huge backlog of rape kits because they have never run the DNA, because supposedly there isn't enough money to run the DNA.
Yeah.
Yet you're running DNA on a guy that's sending weird letters to millionaires. Really?
Well, it's because,
money for that?
Clarissa, money talks and you know what walks. All right?
No. You're kidding.
Money talks, baby, and the poor people walk. That's just the way it is.
I know, and that does bother me about this. Are they victims? Of course they are. Do I feel bad for them? Of course I do. But there is a big piece of me that's like, wait a minute here. I don't get it. There are actual victims of actual violent crime.
You go ahead and you put the best security system money can buy into the house, right? You get a dog, and you call it a day.
No kidding.
That's
right?
all. That way they come up to the house. You got them anyway.
I'm like an awful human being. I would be like doing little tableaus, like little shows, little theater shows in front of my own windows.
Yes.
Why not?
Even kidding. I would. I would have whole scripts. Like, we're gonna start upstairs, and then we're gonna go all the way down. Like, yeah, I would. I'd have entire scripts.
It's just an extension of Halloween decorations.
Yeah, do a mock murder scene.
Exactly. Exactly, right? And then they
you know?
start sending you like letters about that. And then you have to like pretend to cover it up and burn the letters. Oh my God. I'd have an ongoing drama with this person.
So you're
like
saying you'd be having fun with this person.
Absolutely.
So
oh my gosh.
These people though are terrified beyond terrified that their house is being watched.
Children though. They have children, so I get that. You know, like I do not, just so people are aware, I do not have kids, so at least not yet, so I would not be as worried about myself and Henry. No, I think I'd be leaving messages. I think I would be leaving like Zodiac type clues in windows for them. You know, Scrabble board. For you know, just I mean, yeah.
I am the watcher.
I'm the walrus.
I am the
Eggman.
I kind of dig it. Yeah, I am not the type that is scared off easily, and clearly the Woods were not either. But they ended up suing the Woods family.
Oh, they did. Well, boy, because they had no idea the Watcher was going to turn violent.
No, they didn't. But they sued him, basically saying like, "No, you got letters that were violent too, and you just didn't tell us." There's no evidence of that.
Jeez, that's a great way to endear yourself to the neighborhood. Suing people.
I was going to say the article, if you read the article in full, it's a pretty long article. It is captivating, though. But if you read it, you can kind of tell that this family, they did alienate themselves from a lot of people, including the former owners of the house.
Yeah, I'm getting that as I'm reading it here. Yeah. They're kind of snobby.
They did a lot of things that alienated people. Because they also, when they couldn't sell the house as the house, they went to the city board and said, fine, we want to split the lot and let businesses buy it. And of course the neighbors are like, wait a minute, then you're bringing down everybody's property value.
Yeah.
Why would you?
Yeah.
So they made enemies of pretty much everybody.
Just to get rid of one freak? Wow.
Just to stop the letters. And so they went to as far as I'm concerned, they went to, every end that they could to just to stamp out these letters when, honestly, I probably would have been like tempted to say, okay, you don't like us doing renovations on the house? I'll stop or I'll change it. Something.
Yeah.
What do you want?
That and get a German Shepherd and a good camera system.
Yeah, get a good camera system, a German Shepherd, and go fine. Like, let's chill out on the renovations for a little while until this person gets used to us.
Yeah,
something.
That's all. And who knows? This person might be just doing this for fun too.
Oh, totally.
They were just rattling their cage. Rich people move in. They want to rattle their cage a little bit. Mm-hmm. And they sure did it. Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, they're sitting back going, boy, rich people are so easy to mess with.
Well, and they said that the DNA actually came back female to a woman.
Okay. Whoever licked the stamp or licked
the envelope or the stamp is female.
Is female. What a strange story. Again, if you want to check out the story in its entirety, go to The Cut. And it'll have everything right there for you. And
yes,
you
The Haunting of a Dream House is what they call it.
It's a little dramatic of a... it was a little dramatic of a headline, but, for what's going on. I thought for sure it involved ghosts, but it didn't, which would have been cooler, if you ask me. But anyhow, moving on. Where do you want to go?
I would like to go to the road rage incident in Missouri.
There's Missouri and the road rage. What's up with that?
Because that is a crazy story. Speaking of crazy people, so there's a Missouri woman who's charged with murder who basically said she tried to cut the victim in half with her car.
Wow.
I don't know that was wise to
No. I'm going to go on a limb and say that's wrong to do.
Yeah, so there's a woman named Elizabeth McKeon that
bifurcation.
Yes, the woman was frustrated because the car in front of her, who was occupied by 57-year-old Barbara Foster, wouldn't go. Right?
Oh,
she needed to get to the bank. She said so. She was driving a black Ford Mustang. She proceeded to push on. So she nudged Barbara's car in front of her a few times. Right?
What?
So basically, she bumps Barbara's car a couple of times, and then when Barbara doesn't go, she steps on the gas as hard as she could, and she accelerates directly into Barbara's car. Barbara, God love her, gets out of her car, irate, just like I would be.
Yes.
She emerges from the vehicle and basically begins yelling at McKeon before inspecting the damage. Now, McKeon is crazy like a fox, right? So McKeon confessed that that's when I tricked her to make her think I was going to be nice. I was still and everything. So she waits until Barbara gets in front of her car to inspect the damage, and then she slams on the accelerator to cut her in half.
Oh my God! Did she actually cut her in half?
Practically.
Is she dead?
Yes, she is. Barbara Foster died.
Oh my good Lord!
That's pretty horrifying. God, how can people lose sight of reality and just basic principles? Wait a minute. You're that mad because you had to get to the bank, so you're gonna kill her?
Yeah, that's only gonna slow you down from getting to the bank anyway.
Yeah, and the good part about this, if there is any sort of silver lining, is that after she did this, right, McKeon tried to flee, but she was blocked by other vehicles. They wouldn't let her
through. Well, thank God. Well,
and there were people outside of her car, that got out as she's trapped in this like barricade.
Yeah.
And a witness told police they tried multiple times to get her attention, rolling down their window and yelling at her that, hey, you just ran over somebody. And they said that McKeon looked at them and mouthed the words, I know.
Oh, wow. So she not only knew it, obviously, and confessed to it, but couldn't flee. Okay, she's up on murder, right? Like first degree murder? Because
I hope it's first degree.
It was kind of premeditated, waiting for her to go like that. That's premeditated.
Oh, it is. People always misunderstand that. They think premeditation needs to be like some evil plan that you had,
some nefarious plan
in your basement going, Mwah. No, premeditation can take place in the seconds or minutes right before a crime. And she actually, in her own words, McKeon said, that was when I hatched a plan.
Huh. Yeah,
that's premeditation. That's
what it is. Like you said,
she's a genius.
She is. She's an evil genius right up there, Lex Luthor. I mean, right there. Absolute evil genius.
She's a criminal mastermind. She get away with nothing.
Yeah, she got away with nothing, and this poor lady's dead, all because she's a little slow at the light.
Right, and she said, too, they were like, why were you in such a hurry? And ironically, she says she had to get to the bank because she had to make her car payment.
That is ironic. The murder weapon had to be paid for.
Yeah, I had to go ahead and pay for the murder weapon. What the hell?
Unbelievable. I actually just looked up her mugshot because I had to see it. It had to happen. Does she look?
Does she look crazy?
Angry, man. I'm gonna send it to you guys. I'm gonna message it to you guys. But holy mackerel, man! I'm not sure that I would just go up yelling at her in her car. I think I might see her and go.
Even you would be afraid, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah. No, there's you gotta. Sometimes you just gotta know when to call a spade a spade.
There's crazy, and then there's really crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And she was, I think, really crazy.
Wow.
Just out on in some way. So
yeah. If
I can do this. There we go. Of course, it's sensitive file. You have to download.
No, I'm gonna accept it here. I want to see the face of madness here.
She's got her chin jutted out.
Okay.
Kind of like I did what I had to do. That's what her expression says.
Wow.
But dang.
Oh, we hit a snag loading your file, it says.
Oh, no. Yeah, her chin's all jutted out and her eyes are just dead.
Okay. Download complete. I got it. Oh, never mind. I'll have to look at it later. But I'll take your word for it. She's a crazy looking person.
She looks not so great. So
that what a horrible story, though.
It is a horrible story. I feel awful for Barbara Foster's family.
Well, Missouri, though, is kind of a, God bless them, Missouri, but I know people that live there, and they said it's a little bit on the Florida side.
Getting a little sketchy and weird?
Yeah. I met people that lived there, and they say, it was really weird, but nothing compared to the guy that says too much music and masturbation.
Yeah, this is an old story, but I had to include it. I'm sorry.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, even though it's with yourself.
Sex, drugs, and beating mailboxes, man.
Yeah.
He's from Clearwater, Florida. He was accused of vandalizing a home. So people basically saw him, right? He was outside, quote, smashing a mailbox. And in his mugshot, he's actually got like blood on his
He
nose.
does.
So
He looks pretty rough.
I know, like, what was he doing? So he goes out there and he smashes this mailbox. And when the cop said, like, what were you doing? Like, he actually, he destroyed other property too. And he said that he had listened to too much music and masturbated too much and felt like going out and destroying stuff.
Wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, one thing leads to another, obviously.
Yeah, they go hand.
Quid pro quo.
They go hand in hand.
Now we know what the blood was from.
Oh,
Way too vigorous.
Oh,
Very vigorous.
You went there.
You did. You do. But I'm like, is he? I mean, I'm sorry, but is he not doing it right? Like, shouldn't he be kind of tired?
You would think
Shouldn't
so.
be blood involved.
No.
Yeah.
You should be smoking a cigarette at home going, wow, I feel better.
Right? I know. I'm like, you're doing something wrong, dude. Like, something's not working out for you. I don't know what it is, but.
When police arrived at the home, they say they found William Timothy Anderson Thomas. Wow, that's a long one. 25 on the property, shirtless and covered in dirt. Wow. I'm not saying I'm any self-gratification expert here, but I've never heard it involving dirt.
It's true. I know. Or mailboxes. So.
Or mailboxes or blood.
Mail boxes.
Good God. It was the strangest story.
That's an oxymoron.
Oh, that is just a nightmare. And, speaking of like sex involved nightmares, I do want to put something out there because it's almost Christmas. And I know this is going to make people irate, but I'm going to say it anyway. At Christmas and at Halloween and things like that, like some bad people kind of come out of the woodwork sometimes.
Sure they do. I've seen the show, but I've seen the movie Bad Santa.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to remind people that just because people are volunteering somewhere does not necessarily mean that they are good. Most of the time they are, right?
Yes.
99% of the time they are. But there's a story recently that just came out, actually today, about a registered sex offender who had been dressing up as Santa Claus.
Oh, dang.
In Orange County. And actually, he's been a Santa Claus for hire for like 30 years. And they didn't know about it.
30 years.
Yeah.
Sounds like a Gacy.
Yeah, he does. Go check his crawl space.
Yeah, Kendall was convicted on sexual battery charge involving a child younger than 12 years old in 1993. So he has no business being anywhere around kids. My guess is that the reason they didn't know about it, right, and just to sort of explain to people, is when you are on probation or parole, they check your legitimate employment, right? That all has to go through.
He must get a life sentence then. A life.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen to him, but like if you advertise yourself out on Craigslist, that's not tax-paying legitimate employment, right? He's doing something off the books, and that's what happens. So.
Got him on probation violation for not being above board.
That's a pretty hefty violation too, because he's trying to come in contact with children.
Yeah. Wow, dang.
So please,
I vote no.
Yeah, be careful. I mean, don't mistrust everybody. Just keep an eye on your kids when you go someplace where they have
trust but verify.
Exactly. I just keep thinking about the movie Bad Santa. That was a great movie.
Hey, there are those people out there for sure. They're like, this is how I make my money, but I hate it. I just happen to look like Santa.
That's my favorite holiday movie now. Is Bad Santa 1 and 2. It was pretty funny.
It's grim.
It is. The second one not as good as the first one.
I like White Christmas and It's a Wonderful Life because I'm sappy like that.
Actually my favorite is probably National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh, that's pretty good too.
That and maybe A Christmas Story, but that's so overplayed. Really it is.
It is. Yeah, I agree.
It's a great movie, but it does get way more play than it deserves in a lot of ways.
I agree. I know. I'm like, if I have to see that again.
Right.
We saved that one to Christmas Day, and only one time through.
That
seems like enough.
Well, because
seems like enough.
TBS plays it 48 hours. That's all
ridiculous.
they play.
Yeah.
Is that one movie for 48 hours? Are you flipping kidding me?
Do you guys have time for like a really short but funny story about Peter Billingsley?
I do. I always have time for Peter Billingsley.
Yes, he's the kid. Just so in case you guys know, he's the kid in A Christmas Story.
Oh,
the blonde kid with the glasses, the one where
the museum is here. The house,
that's right,
is here.
Really? Oh my God! Yeah, like the "You'll Shoot You Are Out" kid.
We got 1 minute left, Clarissa. Lead on
I can totally do it. So Henry, my boyfriend, my fiance, used to work in Vegas as a bartender. Right. And in Vegas, it was a really ritzy joint. And Peter Billingsley and Vince Vaughn are best friends. So, yeah, they came in one time and he was trying to open a champagne bottle. And things got out of hand and the cork hit Peter Billingsley in the head.
No.
Yeah.
Did he shoot his eye out?
No, and that's the thing. That's what Henry said, right? It hits him in the head, but doesn't hit his eye. It hits like his forehead. And he's like, "Oh my God, man, I'm so sorry. I could have shot your eye out." And Peter Billingsley flipped him off and said, "F you, man." And he's like, "No, I mean, I'm sorry. I hit you in the face, but what are you talking about?" He didn't know that it was Peter Billingsley.
Great story.
He's so unpleasant about it anyway. What a jerk! I don't like that.
Yeah.
No, I guess the rest of the evening actually went okay. Peter Billingsley thought that he knew who he was, and then when he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about," he explained it. He's like, "People have been saying that to me my whole life." You know.
I guess it kind of makes sense. We gotta get out of here. We come back. We have Nikki Nichols on, and of course, is a great new show on ID Discovery. I think premiering tomorrow, right, Eric? It's creeping right up on us.
Yep,
Cold Valley. You're going to want to check that out. But we come back, we're going to be talking with her about this very, very interesting show. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. You know, set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer. Throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey, girl. School zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin' Street? Girlin' Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, the Criminal Code, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with us,
Eric Olsen and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
And tonight we have a great show on tap. I also want you to hop on your browsers and go visit thecriminalcode.com, and there's going to be some great information as you listen to the show that you can follow along with. So I will step aside. I'll let the best intro man in the world take a crack at this one.
Ooh, well, thank you so much, Joel. Cold Valley, a riveting investigative documentary that follows two women as they work to unravel mysterious disappearances that tormented the Lewis Clark Valley in the late 70s and early 80s. It's coming November 29th, which is tomorrow night, my friends, and December 6th at 9 p. Eastern on Investigation Discovery, ID. Between 1979 and 1982, 5 young people vanished in the small Lewis Clark Valley area along the border between Washington and Idaho. To this day, only 3 of those bodies have been found, and the other 2 disappearances remain a mystery. The local police worked for years to find the culprit, but with minimal evidence and no leads, the cases were shelved. Nearly 40 years later, Acetin, is that the right? How do we pronounce acetin? Acetin?
It's Asotin.
Asotin! Thank you.
Right.
Mysterious unnamed voice who didn't hear that from. Asotin County Sheriff's Detective Jackie Nichols, and that wasn't her who told us that, feels a personal obligation to revisit these cases, and she will leave no stone unturned as she dusts off the case files, tracks down old witnesses, and pursues new leads. Nichols has spent countless hours in the pursuit of truth, and the clues all point to one person of interest. She knows his name, but she can't reveal it until she is sure she has the evidence to prosecute him in a court of law. Nichols has one last chance for justice, and time is running out. Who is Jackie Nichols? She is the only detective working in the Asotin County Sheriff's Office in Washington. She jokes that she got the job because she's the only one who wanted it. The truth is, she's a remarkable detective with an amazing reputation. In 2015, she convicted a relative of Al Capone for murder, and she did it without the victim's body. Her daily workload includes traffic collisions, animal abuse, not by her, of course, injuries caused by animals, fraud, robberies, and thefts. With whatever time she has left, she attempts to solve the Lewis Clark Valley cases. They are never far from her mind. A photo of 12-year-old Christina White hangs on the wall near her desk. Jackie was born in Boston, grew up in Vermont. She graduated from college with a graphic arts degree. Good thing she's using it. She was a stay-at-home mom, a veterinarian's technician, and a corrections officer before becoming a detective. She has 4 children and is married to Ben Nichols, prosecuting attorney for Asotin County. Welcome to the program, Jackie Nichols.
Wow, thank you. I don't know if I can live up to that bio, but it sounds really good. Thank you.
You are welcome. And fascinating case, fascinating story. And as always, I want to turn it over now to Dr. Clarissa Cole, who, as Joel mentioned, has actually written up the case. We have a little bit of gray area here. We don't want to give too much away because this is we haven't seen it. We're going to watch it. I'll tell you what. So the first half is tomorrow night. The second half is the following Thursday, and we will be watching because we want to know what happens. But I'm going to turn it over to Clarissa and get a bit of her take on it. Maybe she can present the actual, as she does in the article, maybe she can present the victims because obviously they're the most important thing going here.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a good idea to not, reveal too much, but just to give you guys an idea of the case in general, because it's rare to get a serial, what you think is a serial, a stretch of several different crimes. So I'm going to go over the victims really quickly. So it begins in April of 1979. There's a 12-year-old named Christina White, and she went missing from Asotin, Washington. She'd been to the county fair, I guess, by herself, and she telephoned her mom to say she wasn't feeling very good, and her mom agreed to pick her up at the bottom of the hill near the fair. And she hopped on her bike and she went to a friend's house to ask for a wet washcloth to put on her neck because she had had problems with getting like the heat stroke in the summer a little bit. And someone, answered the door, and he claims that he gave her this washcloth. And then she rode off on her bike and no one ever saw her again. On June 26th, 1981, 22-year-old Kristen David, who was an avid bicyclist, she went missing from Lewiston, Washington. She'd been traveling to her summer job at a factory, and she also had sometimes worked at the Lewiston Civic Theater. And several days later, some fishermen found some floating black plastic bags, and they found one bag, and inside they found a woman's torso and a leg. They called police where more bags with more body parts were found. It was eventually discovered that it was the body of Kristen David. And then finally, on September 12th, 1982, 21-year-old Christina Nelson and her 18-year-old stepsister Brandy Miller left home to go to a Safeway store. For those of you that don't have Safeways, it's a grocery store out here on the West Coast. Christina had even left a note on her door for her boyfriend, basically saying, go inside, we'll be right back. But neither girl showed up by the next morning, so the cops were called. And about a year later, 2 sets of skeletal remains were found at the bottom of a ravine near Kendrick, Idaho, and they were identified as Christina and Brandy. And lastly, also on September 12th, so that same night in 1982, 35-year-old Stephen Pierce, I don't know how to pronounce that. Can you help me? His last name? Pearsall went missing from the Lewiston Civic Theater, where he'd gone to practice his clarinet and do some of his laundry in the theater's washing machines. He worked as a janitor and a set builder there, and notably the victims, Christina Nelson and Brandy Miller, had also worked at the theater sometimes. They both attended college at Lewis Clark State, but he went missing that night, and then no one has ever seen him since. His body has not since been recovered. So this is a very wide-ranging case. When you look at this, started in 1979, it goes through at least 1982. We've got a child victim, 12 years old. We got a male victim, 35 years old, and then 3 female victims in their 20s. So, or almost in their 20s in one case. So, could one person be responsible for all these crimes? And I that is what is such a conundrum for me. So that's kind of where we start. Those are all the victims.
Now we go to Detective Jackie once again, and really for the first time. So welcome to the show, and we'd love to hear how all of this came about. How did you become that lone detective there, and what led you to this case? And then we'd just love to hear what you are able to tell us about the forthcoming show and what information you were able to glean. And I know you have a partner too. We don't on the show. We don't want to leave her out either.
Right. Well, of course, it's a very complex case, and there's a lot that goes into it. And how I came to it is once I became the detective for Asotin County. There just is one detective, so you're very busy in that position. But I knew about these cases. They're very well known here. We're a small community, and so everybody talks about them. When you have unsolved homicides in a small community, it really hits home to a lot of people, especially of when it happens to young persons, 12 years old, disappears from a, seemingly safe community, rural. It really hits people, and so everybody knows about these cases. Mm-hmm. So I knew about them too, and the case of Christina White was in my jurisdiction. So I just really wanted to pursue it and see if there was anything that I could do with a fresh set of eyes looking at the cases, or maybe with modern technology, something that could be tried that couldn't have been done previously. Mm-hmm. And so in working on that case extensively, it just bumps up against the other cases. Go ahead.
What have you seen, though, that maybe others have missed? I mean, without giving too much away from the show, but with that fresh set of eyes, there had to have been details other investigators might have missed.
I don't know if it's so much that they missed it as it is, looking at it from a different perspective maybe, or looking at it in totality versus just because at first I just looked at the Christina White case. I thought, okay, there's other cases and I know they're related, but I just really want to know about my case.
Yeah.
But then I began to, see they're all connected in some way, at least because they're in the valley, and at least 4 of them are directly connected to this person of interest. And so you just can't help but start looking at all the cases together. And so that's what I did. And I don't know if I uncovered anything earth-shattering new. I just think there's newer technology. There's things you can do with DNA testing. Communication is so much easier. Being able to look things up on the internet is so much easier. Being able to see locations, being able to see them from a satellite map right on your computer, it's just a lot easier. And you were talking about my partner. Over the years, I had been in touch with the various family members on these cases, and one who was particularly interested in the cases was Gloria Boberts, who is the cousin of Christina Nelson. And she would contact me and ask me, what was new, what's going on, and she just had a voracious appetite to learn about these cases, and certainly because she wanted to find out what happened to her cousin, but also, I think the mystery of it kind of hooked her too. Sure. And where she kind of went from, it just kind of gradually happened where she went from talking about the cases and throwing out ideas to, actually doing research on her home computer and saying, hey, have you looked at this? Have you looked at that? And then me telling her, these would be the kind of things that would be helpful to find out. Different locations. Could there be other victims in other areas? I certainly couldn't ask her to do police work for me, but she could certainly do research, and sure, she did, and she has been tremendous asset.
It would kind of seem, though, looking at it, the victims are kind of wide and vast. I mean, you got male and 2 females I see here, and is there a MO? I mean, it would seem anything, what we've talked about on the show, serial killers tend to, from what I understand, target one victim over the others. Well, this one is kind of all over the board, and age, gender would fit, but then the male is the X factor.
It is. It is random, but with the male, what I believe happened with the male is that that our person of interest had enticed the girls to the theater, or they had walked by the theater, but at some point that evening they had met up with the person of interest. They knew him. They would have trusted him. I could certainly see them getting a ride from him, or even him saying, hey, let's go to the theater and look at the set. He and the man that disappeared, Stephen Pearsall, had been working on a set that day. Mm-hmm. And the man that disappeared, Stephen Pearsall, had gone to a retirement party with his girlfriend, and the person of interest had not expected him to come back. And then he kind of on spur of the moment decided, I think I'll go do my laundry tonight and practice my clarinet. So his girlfriend actually drove him to his apartment. He picked up his laundry, and she drove him to the theater and dropped him off. And so she was a really good witness, being able to place him there. And then a passing patrol officer also noted him going inside the theater. So we really know factually that he went into that theater, but he never was seen again. And so I think what happened is he was collateral damage. He went in and he witnessed something that the person of interest couldn't allow him to verbalize.
Gotcha. It wasn't someone that maybe he targeted. It was just because wrong place, wrong time is what you're
exactly.
I was thinking about that too, and that was exactly what I thought, is that Stephen Pearsall walked in on something that he couldn't live after having seen. But the other thing I was thinking too, with the younger victim, the 12-year-old victim, I was wondering, I don't know about the suspect's history. I was thinking that sometimes when a suspect is younger and hasn't built up as much confidence, that they sometimes will start with a younger victim before they gear up for what they are really interested in, which might be an adult women. But I didn't know the suspect's history, and if we thought that he had killed before. Did you have any idea about that?
I in looking at the cases, I learned that he was connected to a suspicious death in 1972 in California.
Interesting.
And so I did do some investigating on that, and that'll be detailed more in the show. And I thought perhaps that one in California was his first victim. I no longer think that. I think he has others. But I think with him, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, because I don't know this area at all. I just, speculated that it seems to me he is an opportunist, and that he strikes when he has the chance, when the opportunity is there. He doesn't have as much time to develop a particular prototype of what his victim is going to be. He takes on the person when suddenly the opportunity presents itself there. And I partially believe this because we've had a couple instances where people have talked about their experiences with this person where they felt uneasy or uncomfortable, and in retrospect feel like they may have been just getting away with their lives just because of circumstances. It just didn't work out that he had them alone.
And that's definitely it's definitely the case for sexual offenders, and I wouldn't doubt that it would be the same for serial killers. Like, some are very much opportunistic. Like they have another life where maybe they're married with kids, and they only have so much time. And yeah, sure, exactly,
yeah. And the other thing with the 12-year-old victim, she was a pretty big girl, not sexually developed, but she was tall and kind of a medium build, so she appeared older than 12 years old.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking that a lot of them were similar in size, if not in age. Yeah,
right.
Would you say the offender, the person of interest, has a real issue of impulse control maybe as well? I mean, that's very impulsive, that kind of thing.
I don't know if it's impulsive so much as he just has this unsatiable desire, and that when the opportunity presents itself, he can't help himself. So I guess in a way that would be impulsive.
What I was going to ask, this is a strange question, I suppose, and it's somewhat specific. So if you guys are curious, do go to thecriminalcode.com and sort of read the write-up. But the second victim, Kristen David, people had seen her talking to somebody in a van. Was the person in a van, or was he standing outside the van? And there's a reason I'm asking that. So do you know? If he was inside the van?
I don't know for sure. There, of course, when cases are this old, there's a lot of rumor and there's a lot of, misinformation. And the other thing I discovered in looking at that case, I've looked through the files on the Kristen David case quite extensively now, and there were quite a few people that saw a girl on a bicycle, but they saw her in different places and wearing different clothing, which to me means there probably was more than one girl riding a bicycle on that road that day.
Sure.
Right.
But several people did talk about a brown van with Oregon license plates that was in the area and seemed out of place because it had Oregon plates. And a person did say that they saw her outside of that van, and that the man was outside the van as well. But they did hypnosis and things like that. I've talked to that person since, and his story is quite a bit different now than it was then, with more details. I think his mind is still...
That's not right. Yeah, your mind feels thinking.
Right.
Yeah.
Should
be less.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, we're coming up on 40 years. I was going to ask you, how problematic has it been finding reliable...
In that second, right, and that is the hard thing, is that memories fade, and eyewitness testimony is not as golden as we once thought it was. The mind is very suggestible, and it's hard to remember things exactly. And back then, there were no video cameras, there weren't cell phones, there weren't things to be able to document. Like now, when we say something happened at a specific time, we can pretty much document that with a cell phone or a video surveillance camera footage or something that, or we can even look back at a phone call or a text and say, I know this happened at this time because I sent this text. Mm-hmm. But back then, it was more approximate. She left approximately at such a time in the morning. Well, maybe I saw her around 10 at this intersection, but I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. So
I guess
there's that aspect too.
The reason I'd wondered is because the potential suspect that people have kind of identified potentially over time is physically, it seems like he's pretty big in stature, or he was at one point. And I kept thinking to myself, if he was standing outside the van, people had mentioned that maybe he had facial hair or like this. And I'm thinking, I think the first thing I'd mention is that he was big.
Big.
He was tall. Yeah.
Right.
And that seemed
odd
to me.
I've often speculated about the Kristen David homicide and thought that could definitely be attributed to a different murderer.
Oh my God, I love you. We would get along really well. That's the one I don't think fits. I think it's someone else.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we did have several serial killers that moved through this area during that time frame. And it was that time, the 70s and 80s, serial killers could prey much more easily.
Yeah.
And they did. And there were, if you go to like Murderpedia and start looking at serial killers, it's shocking how many there actually were and how many victims that happened.
Sure.
So,
70s and 80s, the golden age of serial killing.
I've heard that before,
right.
Called that before, where they were really prevalent and they could almost work in total anonymity.
Right. I think now, there isn't those opportunities. People, the technology certainly helps because of surveillance cameras and cell phones and things like that. So I think, we may catch them sooner before they become prolific serial killers, or they just may not go that far because they just don't have the ability to get away with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there's a few other people that I think could be possible for Kristen David's homicide. So I've certainly kept an open mind about that. I thought our person of interest was involved in the theater, and he was very dramatic. He was described as being dramatic and liked to wear costumes and take on roles and do things. So I thought, well, maybe he liked to change up what he did. Maybe it was a thing to throw off the police, or maybe he just liked to act out different fantasies almost. But it just seems like that homicide doesn't fit in as well.
Yeah,
I agree.
So
it is an outlier.
So the suspect, though, by now has got to be in his late 60s, early 70s.
Early 70s.
Yeah. So and of course he's not going to come forward.
No.
Unfortunately, you would think that by now his soul would have eaten at him, his conscience, and
right,
and just would have thought that he might have wanted to come forward. I know I'm living in this fantasy world,
right?
So excuse me, but you would have thought that his conscience would have made him want to come forward, so the families of these people would have had peace.
I know,
being advanced in age as he is. You see what I'm saying? Life might not be that much further.
I just don't think people like that have any remorse, and they don't have any feelings, any empathy for what other people go through.
Yeah, and that's sad. That's a sad, sad state of affairs.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Hey, Eric.
Yes.
What is your mind brewing with? I'm curious.
My mind is sitting here pondering all this, and I'm looking ahead a little bit, just having read the long version of the description of the show, and apparently Gloria has done a lot of work kind of roaming around the whole country, and apparently there's a case. Apparently there's a case that is relatively recent that may be applicable. So I was wondering if we could head in that direction, if that's possible. Again, we don't want to step on toes or give too much away here. But the other thing I was thinking about is, some of the things that Jackie's saying are things that we hear Clarissa say all the time. It's exactly a person who does not have empathy. It is a person devoid of empathy. And they can be very intelligent. They can be very manipulative. They can even be very charming. But deep, they got a hole in their soul. And, I mean, that's basically what's going on here. I mean, it sounds like, certainly. And I'm wondering, have we ever, we've probably talked about this before, Clarissa, and love to hear Jackie's input too. Do we have any thoughts on kind of what percentage of the population, is prone to these things? I guess we're talking about psychopaths, right?
Yeah, psychopaths comprise only about 1% of the overall population, and they're a very small percentage of the overall population, very small percentage of the population in prison, and like I've gone over before, not all psychopaths are violent. Like they don't have empathy, but there are a lot of psychopaths that, like I was saying, are like maybe day traders on Wall Street,
surgeons,
or ER surgeons. People that have to make adrenaline-soaked decisions that affect people's lives dramatically, but they do it in a way that is more pro-social. So let's say that all serial killers are not violent. So then we're only looking at maybe 1/4% of the population, if that, fall into this category. So it's a pretty small percentage, but then again, just one of them can do a lot of damage.
That is so true.
In a lifetime.
We have to run a break, though. We're going to have more Jackie Nichols when we come back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey? Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
No, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
I got a rather serious problem over here.
All right, what are we looking at?
Cranky mother-in-law asleep on the couch in the man cave.
Dear God.
It gets worse.
That's impossible.
She's passed out on the remote.
I stand corrected.
What do I do?
Okay, I want you to grab a Torrin Big Red hydraulic bottle jack.
Okay.
Now you wedge that bad boy in under your mother-in-law and crank her up skyward.
It's working. And got the remote.
Great. Now grab that Torrin Big Red 2-ton folding shop crane and put that woman on wheels.
And away we go.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. Everybody, I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olsen and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
And tonight we're talking about the show Cold Valley. And, of course, we have Jackie Nichols on the horn with us. And she is the star. Not only is she the star, but she's a real deal detective. All right? Don't mess with her. She'll take you downtown. All right? No, but on a serious note, we're talking about this very interesting case about the show premise, and man, it is just a mind wrapper. I mean, it just makes my skin crawl in a lot of ways that there are people like this out there. It really does. But unfortunately, Jackie, this is your job. You deal with this more often than most people, I would imagine.
Well, I do deal with a lot of crimes, and people commit crimes for a lot of reasons, but not very many of them are this cold-blooded type. They're, crimes of passion or
Sure.
crimes of desperation or crimes, because of mental illness or addiction. But just a cold-blooded desire to kill somebody else. I don't see that very often.
I was going to say, maybe I should rephrase that. You don't even see him this cold, because this is cold. I mean, this is cold.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the show is going to air tomorrow night. It's got 2 parts is what's to it. It's Cold Valley, and the first part will be airing tomorrow night, and then the following Thursday will be the conclusion, which will be another 2-part installment. So total 4 hours, you get to watch this case unfold. And you yourself can make up your own mind of who the killer is right along with Jackie. So make sure you catch that. And of course, Investigation Discovery tomorrow night.
We'd love to hear any new information that you were able to come up with or that Gloria was, because apparently she was roaming the country investigating this, and even kind of cast a broader net. You're, of course, tethered to your territory and your district, and you have a actual ongoing job to do, where it sounds like she was more free to kind of follow where the leads led. Can you give us some of that information, something that was found? And
Sure.
There are rumors that there's possibly a connection to more contemporary cases.
Well, certainly one of the things that Gloria did was begin doing research about other cases, because one of the problems that we have in our cases here is a lack of evidence. We have the things that happened, but they happened a long time ago, and not everything was collected that could have been or retained, because nobody knew about DNA evidence at the time. And so Gloria just began doing a lot of research from the internet and from her computer, and just looking at cases and looking at serial killers and looking at victims and trying to piece together commonalities and anything that could possibly link our person of interest to where he lived during various times that was in relation to unsolved cases. And in doing that, she did uncover some unsolved cases that potentially could have some links to our person of interest. And so she passed, any information she found, she would pass along to law enforcement for them to investigate. And I don't want to give away too much of it, but there's definitely some things that she unearthed that were unknown to us before, and definitely have potential to be linked to our person of interest.
Ooh. That's interesting. That is interesting.
It makes sense when you think about it, because somebody that is a serial, it's not that some people don't, kill and then stop, but it is pretty rare. When somebody is a serial, they often do keep committing similar crimes. So it would be kind of strange for somebody who's still physically able to just completely stop. If that's what is suspected is a serial killer. So it wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, most of the serial killers that we have caught that are incarcerated have a string of crimes in different locations that, they either admit to or that are found out later through DNA analysis. So scary.
Very interesting. It is. It's frightening.
Mm-hmm. Were any of the victims sexually assaulted at all that you're aware of?
We don't know for sure, because of course, we never found Christina White. Christina Nelson and Brandy Miller were too decomposed to, determine that. And with Kristen David, she was so horribly mutilated that we couldn't tell, or the investigators at the time couldn't tell. So we don't know what the sexual aspect of these cases might have been.
Well, I was going to say that'd be a great way to get direct DNA, but then again, like you said, it was so long ago and they were so decomposed or what have you, know, the condition of the bodies, it would make sense. You couldn't, harness any of that.
I was going to say, though, that, like statistically speaking, again, this is just statistical. I don't know with the 2 girls, and then Stephen Pearsall wasn't found, Christina White wasn't found, but with Kristen David, given that her body was mutilated and put in bags, the post-mortem mutilation, it can be a way of just disposing of a body, but the typical offender that does that type of post-mortem mutilation typically does sexually assault the victim as well. So it's usually associated with sexual homicide and not just straight homicide. I wouldn't be surprised in her case. But the other remains of the two girls that were found was over a year later.
Oh, that's a long time.
Right, 18 months. Yeah, and they were outdoors.
Oh gosh. And, but I guess the reason that the Kristen David case also didn't match up for me is that to dispose of a body in that sort of fashion, to mutilate the body post-mortem, and then the other two girls were just kind of dumped, but they weren't disarticulated. That would be kind of strange to go from that type of disposal then to just dumping. But then again, I don't know what his time constraints were, and that is certainly consideration. If he had longer with the other victim, you never know. But it's a very wide-ranging case. I mean, it did fascinate me in that way, in that it had a very strange pattern to it. And gosh, I really hope that they get closure. They deserve closure. I mean, just the thought of someone being missing for that long is excruciating. And then for Stephen Pearsall's family to go through the further sort of indignity of him being thought of as a perpetrator at one point, right? Because they didn't know, and the two girls disappeared. I mean, is there any more sort of information on that? Why did they think that he was the perpetrator? Is it just because he went missing at the same time?
Right. And it wasn't so much, as they investigated him, they investigated everybody close to it. And as as they followed the leads, and the more they learned about Stephen Pearsall, the less likely of a suspect he seemed. His personality, his background, his history, nothing pointed towards him being the suspect. The problem is that if you have a defense, it's going to be it's the other guy. And when you have a person that was missing from that same vicinity that same night, the defense is always going to be able to say it was the other guy, prove it wasn't the other guy.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that's why I think, he was considered a suspect, but only because of that reason. And as time went by, he was less and less considered a likely suspect.
And the sad part is, justice delayed is justice denied. And these poor families, the victims' families are left wondering what happened and why it happened.
Right.
And, that's got to be the hardest part.
Well, and that's one of the things that was really hard for me, because when I first began looking at the cases, Christina White's parents were both alive. And I met with them and talked about, what I could do and what I could try and what I'd like to do. And of course, my ultimate goal was to have some answers for them about what happened to their daughter. And now, unfortunately, they've both passed away, and I was never able to get those answers for them. I hope that they have them now. But I just, I can't imagine being such a monster that you would put a parent through that and never tell them where their child is.
Question from the listeners: Would you be open to using a psychic medium to help you in this case? Many other FBI agents and other local law enforcement officials have turned to the use of psychics. So, what's your feelings on that, Jackie? Would that be something you'd consider?
Well, I actually, I have an open mind, and I have gotten a lot of tips based on psychic, visions, and, however the information comes to someone, if they pass it along to me, I will follow up on it. Now, unfortunately, none of that has panned out. And I've had some instances where there have been some people that say they're psychics, and they've kind of taken advantage of family members, and they want them to pay for information and things like that. So I'm leery of that.
Yeah.
But
I was actually thinking.
I will take.
Oh, go ahead, ma'am. I'm sorry about that.
I was just going to say I will take information and investigate it from any source. If it helps me solve these cases, I'm glad to do it.
Well, Erica, I was kind of thinking about hooking her up with Christy Robinette.
Yeah, we have a friend who's been on the show, who's an author and
FBI, worked with the FBI and stuff.
A working psychic, and she had a special, I think it was actually on Investigation Discoveries where it aired, about her experiences where she started having these visions, and it took, I think it took a year and a half to kind of pinpoint what was going on, and to finally, but she was able to actually locate the body of this girl who kept appearing to her, and then they were also able to convict, I guess it was her boyfriend, of the murder. So, she has had several cases she's participated in, but that one actually literally led to recovery of the body and conviction. So, yeah, we'd be happy to point her in your direction. She's in Michigan. I very always interested in kind of in the production, the making of side of it too. What was it like to participate in the making of this, and how did that impact your actual investigatory work as you were also being filmed? How did it all kind of come together in the first place?
Well, it started with an idea of the producers of the show of, working on these cases and filming it, but it was a somewhat unique way of doing it in that the cases weren't solved, and they would just follow me around as I attempted to do things to solve it, and Gloria and other people working on them, and just to kind of show what it's like in an active cold case investigation. What do detectives do? What do researchers do? What does it look like when they're actually working a case? And so that's what they did. And initially, I had some nervousness, and it was awkward being, having a film crew follow me around, but the guys were all so super aware of the fact that they needed to be respectful because, there's victims and families, and they were really, really important to them to get the facts correct, and always aware of that the investigation was more important than the entertainment value.
Good.
So I got pretty comfortable. Yeah, I got pretty comfortable with them and really enjoyed my time with them. They were a great group of people to work with.
So I was gonna ask, I hear what you're saying about the whole psychic thing, and I prefer more psychological manipulative techniques. So has anybody sort of hit the suspect where it hurts? And by that, I think that the chink in his armor is his stepson. That's what I've gleaned. He has an unusually close relationship with the stepson. He goes out of his way to try to defend him from criticism. So I'm guessing the stepson knows something.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I don't know if all of that is accurate.
Okay, good.
I know there's a lot of information on there's some, like a serial killer page, the Lewis Clark serial killer page, and a lot of people go back and forth on that and try to figure out who's talking, and speculation about the stepson, and that he was made to participate, and
I can't imagine that.
Things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see that, and from looking at the case, I know, the people that the law enforcement talked with them. There wasn't a lot of suspicion at the time that Christina White went missing. And that was because he wasn't a suspect.
That's crazy to me. He was the last person to see her.
Right. And actually the way it happened was the person of interest had a girlfriend, and she had 2 children. And the daughter was friends with Christina White. And Christina had gone to the parade with her mom and her little sister. Okay. And then she took her bike, and she was going over to her friend's house, and they were going to go to the fair and work on the friend's horse. And then Christina started feeling sick. Gotcha. So her friend said, "Hey, I got to go work on my horse for the fair." And Christina called her mom from her house. And so the friend went off to the fair, and Christina called her mom and said, "Hey, I'm not feeling good." And her mom said, "Well, I'll just put your little sister down for a nap, so you walk your bike down the road, and I'll watch for you down the hill so I can see you." It was about 3 blocks one direction and 3 blocks up a hill.
Wow.
And so the information about the man being there and giving her the washcloth, that's not documented anywhere. That's a well-known story, and it's talked about in law enforcement, and it's talked about in the public, but it's not documented anywhere. No police officer wrote that in a report. And so I can't verify that actually happened, or if that was, something that somebody speculated and then it became some sort of thing that people talked about as a truth. He may or may not have been there.
Yeah. Where do you suspect, though, that the murders took place?
I suspect in the Christina White case, the person of interest, he was living with his girlfriend and her 2 kids. He still had his own house, and that house was located between where Christina White was last seen and where she was supposed to go. Okay. So my speculation is that he said, hey, you're not feeling good, let me give you a ride home.
Yeah.
And she would have known him, would have trusted him with him, would have been had been in the car with him before, would have ridden with him easily. And I can see him then trying to, lure her into that other house. Hey, I got to go by my other house. He had kept a cat there after he moved in with his girlfriend. And so I can just easily see him luring Christina into that house. There was an entrance in the back that was would have been more secluded and went right into the basement. So that's my speculation, is he told her, hey, I'll give you a ride home, and lured her into that house, and he had the house all to himself.
As
long as he wanted.
Does he still own the home?
No.
I wonder,
but he did have it for several years.
It's kind of funny because this just hit me for some reason. Years ago, we did a radio show about the Lizzie Borden home. And even though they had done, the murders happened so many years ago, they were still able to go in there and use, I forget the name of the chemical, but they were still able to find blood even after all these years.
Luminol.
Would that be something that, it would place at least some type of instant in that home?
Right. Yeah. And that house has been pretty extensively processed. Including, ground penetrating sonar, and they had done the basement of the home was not finished at the time the suspect owned it, and it has since been completely finished. And so the owners have let law enforcement jackhammer up the floor and do a lot of things, but they have not allowed us to tear out the walls.
Nice homeowners, though.
Yeah, very nice.
They've been great. Everybody here wants these cases solved.
Yeah.
And it's been great. Everybody's been really great about allowing me to do things and being helpful that way.
Sure.
Sure. So I feel like that's probably where the crime took place, but I don't think that her remains are there. There probably still is evidence retained, but getting to it might be impossible.
At this point, yeah.
He might have had other things to get rid of, too, like her bicycle. I don't know if that was left behind, if it was just gone. It's like there would have been a lot.
No, her bicycle is, it was gone, too.
It just seems like there should have been so much, taken in broad daylight. How?
It's gutsy.
That is
very gutsy.
You would have thought that somebody would have seen something, like, whoa, I just saw him drag this girl or take this girl into his house. She never came back out. Somebody somewhere saw something. Now, do you have a tip line in case someone did see something?
Do we have a tip line?
Yeah, do you have a tip line? See, we've done that before. We had from the Killings Fields, we had the guys on from that show, and they had a tip line, and a few people from the show did call the tip line. And
did
so
they? Oh, well,
yeah. So
and I think there's going to be on when they air the show, there's going to be a place or information as to how people can contact me.
Okay.
Or they can go to Investigation Discovery, their website.
Sure.
There'll be that information, should be there.
Okay, good deal. And then we'll pass that along next week, how people can
great.
Get a hold of you in case they did see something, if they were in that area, especially a fair going on and stuff. Maybe they weren't from there.
Yeah.
Or if they heard something after the fact, like people, especially people that like to brag, might have let something slip at some point to someone that maybe didn't make sense at the time.
Yeah.
Maybe made a statement that didn't make sense.
Know.
Yeah, maybe.
But
You never know when that one little thing is going to spark someone's
I have a
memory.
DNA question. It's going to drive me crazy. So, like, online, and I have no idea if there's any truth to this at all. Is there any DNA to? Can you say that or not openly? If there's any DNA to compare to or not?
Well, that's what we've been searching for.
Okay.
And that's kind of the big thing nowadays is DNA. That's kind of the golden ticket in solving cases, especially these cold cases, is DNA. So that is definitely something that we've been pursuing.
Well, and it's so hard. I mean, especially if things are degraded, if they've been outside. Like, I don't think people realize how much they sometimes have to get a sample that's intact, where they can even compare it.
Right.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was anything to compare to after all this time. You know.
That's been our big question, and that's what we've been looking for.
I am confident, though, that you will find justice for these people, one way or another. I really am, Jackie. I think you're just the person to do it. I really do.
And somebody knows something.
Yep,
somebody knows something.
You're gonna find it. You strike me as a bulldog, Jackie, and you're gonna keep at it
in a good way.
Yep, exactly.
I've been called a pit bull on a pork chop before. So you mentioned that no body homicide case that I was part of, and one thing I want to say is that there was a lot of people that worked super, super hard on that case, not just me. It was the gal had disappeared from our jurisdiction, but she was actually murdered in another jurisdiction. So the detectives and the prosecutor from that county just worked incredibly hard to put that case together and make it stick. But I was described as a pit bull on a pork chop on that case too. I thought I was more like an agile little border collie nipping at the heels of the other people, but whatever.
Well,
I do get determined.
Well, that fits more with your appearance. How about that? The agility.
Thank you.
Well, so real quick, we absolutely have to let people know about the show because I'm telling you, I'm going to be watching.
I'm excited to see it.
It's tomorrow night, and it's called Cold Valley, and it starts at 9 o'clock Eastern. I assume also Pacific, the usual. It's on Investigation Discovery. It's a 2-part documentary. It will show also the subsequent Thursday, next Thursday, also at 9 o'clock. So it's a 2-parter, and we will find out all that has been discovered thus far in this case. And it sounds like much has been accomplished, but maybe not all. We will find out, of course. And so it's very exciting, and what an honor to speak with the woman who's been the impetus behind this cold case after 40 years. And anything that's been achieved after almost 40 years is a great achievement. So we wish to congratulate you. And, of course, we'll have more to say after we've seen the show, but then we won't have you on. Oh, I'm so sad.
Right. You may not want to after you see me.
Oh, of course.
Oh, no.
Of course we will. So best of luck on any subsequent things that need to be accomplished on the case. And I agree with Joel. I think you're the one. I think you're going to make it happen. If it is put it this way, if it's possible to make it happen, you will be the one who makes it happen.
Oh, thank you. Well, with the help of a lot of other people, too.
Well, it helps that your husband's the prosecutor, too. So, I mean, you
Right?
know, you cuff him, he convicts him. I mean, it's...
Well, and it is helpful because it helps me understand what it takes to actually prosecute a case successfully.
Sure.
Whereas, people think, well, everybody knows he did it. Why, everybody knows he did. Just go arrest him. Well, the case still has to be prosecutable, and you can't just call everybody into court. You can't send a subpoena to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have the case. Whoa. And so having his perspective has really been helpful.
And let's just say you did do that, and he got off, though. Let's just say a jury exonerates him. Well, you're done. Double jeopardy comes into play then, and all that works all for naught then at that point, because no matter what you uncover later on, he's already been exonerated.
Right.
Well, no matter what else happens, you are the power couple of that county.
In a very, very small pond. Very small pond.
How big is the city, by the way? We didn't cover that. How big is that city?
The city?
Yeah, that happened.
Well, it's really, there's Lewiston, Idaho, and Clarkston, Washington, and we're separated by a river.
Okay.
And then the town of Assotin. And so it's, I don't know the exact population. I'll probably get it wrong. But we're small. We're rural.
Sure. Yeah.
Lots and lots of areas that are
lots of
vast,
secrets.
Roadless.
Yeah, lots of secrets in those areas, Jackie. Lots of secrets. We got to get out of here. Until next time, everyone, take care of each other, love each other. Make sure you tune in on Investigation Discovery tomorrow night. You're not going to want to miss that one. It's going to be a great one. Watching Jackie on TV doing her thing, Cold Valley. Check it out tomorrow night. Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.